Thank you, Eleni. I'm so glad that you all are joining us for this webinar. And I'm also really excited to have webinars be so explicit in what they are and so simple that it's not too late to help Kansas families claim the expanded child tax credit, which provides at least $3,000 per child. And through this work, I've learned that more than 4 million kids, primarily those in households with low incomes, are at risk of missing out on the child tax credit. And in Kansas, I believe that's an estimated 21,000 who might miss out on it. So while the tax filing deadline has passed, families with no or low incomes can still file to claim that CDC without penalty. So this webinar is really designed to explain what the child tax credit efforts are and what outreach can look like over the coming months and into 2023. And as many of you all know, Kansas Action for Children is all about helping make sure that every Kansas child has the opportunity to grow up healthy and to thrive. And we think the child tax credit is a really great way to achieve that goal. I'd like to thank our friends and partners at the Coalition on Human Needs, Code for America, and the Partnership for America's Children for making this webinar possible and for their leadership in promoting the expanded child tax credit and making it easy for families to make use of it. So I'd like to pass it over to my friend Katie Schonoff from the United Methodist Health Ministries Fund. Katie, David, and her team at UMHMF have not only been strong supporters of KAC, but of good public policy. And they use their resources and their role as a convener to shape those policy debates alongside advocates around the state. So Katie, if you'd like to share a few words.
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you all for attending this webinar. I'd like to also thank Casey and the Coalition on Human Needs and the Partnership for America's Children as well. To John's point, this is an important webinar on a very critical topic of making childcare more affordable for Kansas families. And as you know, it was already mentioned, we are committed to supporting Kansas kids and families. And we know that the child care tax credit is an important step forward, and especially to make sure all Kansas families know about it, which is why it's great to partner with Casey on this webinar. So again, I just want to say thank you all and turn it back over to John.
Yeah, thanks, Katie, again, for your support and especially help promoting the webinar. I don't want to stand in the way of you all learning all about the CTC outreach efforts, so I'm going to hand it right back to you, Eleni.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, everyone, so we will get started. So quickly, if you're not familiar with our two organizations, the Coalition on Human Needs is an alliance of national groups, service providers, faith groups, policy experts, and labor, civil rights, and other advocates. Our mission is to advocate at the federal level to meet the needs of people with low incomes and increase knowledge of positive outcomes from current or proposed programs. The Partnership for America's Children has over 50 members on multi-issue child advocacy organizations across 40 states. And their mission is to support its network of state and community child advocacy organizations in effective advocacy. So what is the expanded child tax credit? And before I get started, I also wanted to mention that we will have time for Q&A at the end, but please feel free to put your questions in the chat. If I happen to catch them while I'm going, I'm happy to answer them, but if not, we will get to them at the end of the presentation. So the 2021 expanded CTC meant more money and more families becoming eligible for the tax credit. So that meant that families could now receive $3,600 per child ages 0 to 5 and $3,000 per child ages 6 through 17. And this previously was $2,000 for any children, and the cutoff age was 16. So they increased, there was a significant increase in how much money families could get, and they actually increased the age which children can be claimed by 1 year as well. There's no minimum income requirement, so families with no earned incomes are eligible for the full credit. The credit is fully refundable, meaning families are eligible for the full amount even if they don't owe taxes. And families were eligible to receive half of the CTC in 2021 and half when they filed their taxes this year, or the full credit if they didn't get an advance payments in 2021. So This is just an example of how much money is actually on the table for families right now. So if we had a family with a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old, we're looking in total for 2021 CTC, the family would be able to receive $10,200. And this isn't including other additional money through stimulus payments and other state or federal tax credits that families could also be eligible for. It's a lot of money. I had a conversation with a volunteer, I think out of New Jersey recently, that helped about 8 or 9 families. And that total amount for his efforts was over $40,000. So this is pretty life-changing money, especially for families on the lower end of incomes, and why it makes it so important that this outreach continues to get to the families that may not realize that they qualified for this. Who is eligible for 2021 CTC and how do they claim it? So adults may have a social security number or an individual taxpayer identification number, but any child claimed for the CTC must have a social security number and must be valid for employment. The dependent must be the adult's child, including adopted, as well as grandchild or stepchild, a younger sibling, step sibling, half sibling, or their descendant, or a foster child placed by a government agency. The dependent must have lived with the adult in the US for more than half the year. There are some exceptions, like babies born in the second half of 2021. And this means that the child must have lived for at least 6 months and 1 day with the parent or the adult that's claiming them as a dependent. And the dependent did not provide over half of their own support in 2021. And how do families claim the CTC now at this point, now that we're way past the tax season? How does it work? So there are 2 main ways that we're going to talk about. So in 2021, most families automatically received advanced CTC payments of $250 to $300 per child per month from July through December. These were families that essentially were probably already filing taxes or had filed taxes in the previous at least 2 years, and were in the system, so they automatically received the advance payments, the first half of the CTC. So if they claimed 1 child that was 6 or older, they and were eligible for $3,000, they received $1,500 worth of that through the months of July through December. So families who were required to file taxes or didn't do so in 2019 or 2020 for other reasons had to take steps to receive the advance payments. And this was essentially through GetSeetsa.org. And then everyone would have needed to file a tax return this year to receive the second half or the full amount of the 2021 CTC, or as we'll talk about now, the other 2 options that they can use to continue claiming the credit if they haven't claimed it at all. So as I said, tax day has passed, but families can still claim the CTC. Individuals with no or low income can generally still file without a penalty. Even if they were required to file, but they were actually due a refund from the IRS, they can also still file without a penalty. And families have 3 years to claim any of the tax credits they owed. So essentially, families have until 2025 tax season to claim this credit. There's an extra emphasis and push right now to get families to claim because GetCTC.org is reopened, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But even after GetCTC closes sometime mid this fall, there will still be an opportunity for families to claim the credit if they still haven't done so. So what's GetSeetsa.org? If you're not familiar with it, it's a simplified filing tool that helps you claim the CTC and the third stimulus payment. It was created by Code for America and is an IRS approved official e-file provider. It's available in English and Spanish. It's mobile friendly. There's chat support available, and most individuals finish in less than 15 minutes. And as I mentioned, it will be open through mid-November of this year. And who can claim the CTC using GetCTC.org? So individuals have to not yet have filed a 2021 tax return. They have to have made under 12,550 as a single person, 18,800 as a head of household, or 25,100 if they are married filing jointly in 2021. They have to have earned less than $400 in self-employment income. As I mentioned before, they have to have a social security number or an individual taxpayer ID number, while the children have to have a social security number valid for employment. They have to have lived in the 50 states or DC or on a US military facility. And they did not have advanced premium tax credits. They didn't receive advanced premium tax credits. These are credits that are received for lowering your monthly health insurance payments through health insurance exchanges. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play a short demo video on GetCTC. So let me just stop sharing for just a second.
CTC allows families without a tax filing obligation to file a simplified 2021 tax return to access the child tax credit and the third stimulus payment. GetCTC e-files a simplified return directly with the IRS. It's mobile-friendly, accessible, available in both English and Spanish, and chat assistance is available at any point in the process. People without children can use it too, just to access the third stimulus payment. This is what GetCTC looks like at our launch in May 2022. Note that we constantly update the tool in response to user feedback, so it may look a little different later in the year. First, GetCTC will go through a few steps to confirm that it's the right tool for me. The tool asks first how I'm filing my return, single or married. Then the tool confirms that the IRS allows me to use simplified filing, since households with higher incomes or other special circumstances, like self-employment income, are required to file a full return. If, for example, I'm not sure what counts as self-employment income, additional information is available below. GetCTC will then warn me that I could get even more money by filing a full return, since I can't get the EITC or state credits from this tool. To get the first two stimulus payments, I would have to file a 2020 tax return. Those who choose to file a full return or back taxes are sent to Get Your Refund, which allows families to file using VITA services. For now, I'll opt to continue with this tool. Next, GetCTC will ask me a few other questions to confirm I'm eligible to use the tool. It lists a few additional and rare scenarios that GetCTC does not support, and will ask whether I already filed a 2021 return this year. If I already submitted a return, the IRS would reject a new one I filed through this tool. Then, GetCTC will confirm I lived in the 50 states, DC, or a US military facility last year, since overseas and territory residents are currently not eligible to use simplified filing. Finally, it will confirm that no one can claim me as a dependent, since that would make me ineligible for the CTC and stimulus checks. I've now confirmed I'm eligible to use GetCTC. In the next section, GetCTC asks for some basic information about me. I'll enter my name, date of birth, and social security number. Note that I could also enter an ITIN. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks for my phone number. It also asks if I was a member of the Armed Forces in 2021, since that could impact the amount of my recovery rebate credit. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks if I am legally blind. Finally, GetCTC asks me to agree to the privacy policy. Then the tool will check if I filed a 2020 return. If I did, GetCTC would collect my 2020 adjusted gross income, which the IRS requires from filers for authentication purposes. In this case, I'll say that I didn't file last year. On this page, we ask clients the contact method we can use to best reach them. Note, GetCTC does not require clients to create an account and does not require them to have an email address. Clients simply have to sign up using their email or their phone. In this case, I'll choose to sign up by phone. GetCTC will send me a 6-digit code that I must enter to confirm it's mine. For the purposes of this demo, I'll enter a fake code on this page. Note that if I don't finish my return in one sitting, I can log back in and continue using this contact method. Next, if I were filing married, GetCTC would collect needed information about my spouse, their name, date of birth, social security number or ITIN, and 2020 adjusted gross income, if applicable. In this case, I'm filing single, so GetCTC will skip this section. In the next section, GetCTC allows me to list my 2021 dependents. Rather than assume I've read all the tax rules, GetCTC asks me all the key questions I need to answer to make sure I can claim my dependents. Keep in mind that the pages clients see in this section very much depend on the answers they provide. First, I'll enter my dependent's basic information: name, date of birth, relationship to me, and SSN or ATIN. We ask about one specific scenario to confirm basic eligibility. Next, GetCTC will ask me to confirm a few more criteria. If at any point my dependent doesn't meet the main criterion, GetCTC will ask whether one or more valid exceptions apply. Behind the scenes, GetCTC will determine which credits my dependent is eligible for. Finally, GetCTC will show me a list of my dependents, including whether they are eligible for CTC or only for the third stimulus payment. I can keep repeating this process until all my dependents are recorded. For now, I'll say I only have one dependent. In the next section, GetCTC will determine my credit amounts. First, GetCTC will figure out how much CTC I can claim. The IRS requires families to report how much advanced CTC they received last year and subtract this from their total credit. GetCTC makes this process easier by calculating how much families should have received based on the dependents they provided earlier. I can say that I got this amount, a different amount, or no payment at all. In this case, I'll say I got the estimated amount. GetCTC calculates the remaining CTC available to me. Next, GetCTC will figure out how much recovery rebate credit I can claim, that is, the third stimulus payment. As with CTC, the IRS requires families to report how much they received last year. Again, GetCTC will display how much I should have received based on my family structure. In this case, I'll say I got a different amount. GetCTC will ask me to enter what I received and provide some tips about where to find this information. I'll say in this case that I received $200. GetCTC will then let me review the amount I'm claiming. Finally, GetCTC will collect my payment information and allow me to review and submit my return. I can select direct deposit or a mailed check. In this case, I'll select direct deposit. GetCTC asks me to confirm that my name is on the bank account, so the payment is not rejected. I'll provide my routing number and my account number. And finally, we'll have the chance to confirm my information. The IRS also requires that I provide my mailing address. GetCTC allows me to enter identity protection pins for anyone in my family who has one, and provides more information about what an IP pin is. I'll say that no one in my family has an IP pin. Now, I can review all the information I've submitted and go back to edit anything that's wrong. On this page, as required by the IRS, I set a 5-digit PIN that I can use to authenticate when I file next year. On the next page, I'll see a final summary of the payments I am claiming. Next, I have the option to submit my driver's license information and my spouse's if I were filing married. Especially for clients without a tax filing history, the IRS may process returns and issue refunds faster if this information is submitted, and we recommend clients provide it if possible, but it is not required. If I don't have a driver's license or don't want to provide the information, I can skip this page. Finally, I'll agree to our terms on the last page, and I'll file. Just like that, I've filed my simplified return. GetCTC will alert me within a couple days whether my return has been accepted or rejected by the IRS. Most clients hear within a few hours. If my return was rejected, GetCTC will provide me with a plain language explanation of why, and allow me to log back in and resubmit my return. You can find GetCTC at getctc.org. For more resources about the CTC and stimulus payments, visit getctc.org/navigators.
Okay. So any of the links that I share today will also at the end, I will put in the chat so you can have, and also will be shared in the follow-up email that we send out to everyone. So why is this? Just a second. Okay, so that was GetCTC, and we went over who can qualify to file on GetCTC. But there could also be other people who still haven't filed or claimed the child tax credit who don't qualify to get to go through getctc.org to claim the credit. So those individuals are individuals that make above the filing threshold and or are eligible for additional money through full tax filing. So perhaps somebody is in the income bracket that can go through GetSeetsa.org, but they might also qualify to get the EITC, for example. And in that case, we would want to direct them elsewhere to claim their credit. And the best place or one-stop shop for this is getyourrefund.org. And actually getctc.org, if somebody goes on their website and starts answering the question and it's determined that they don't qualify to claim through GetCTC, they will then be automatically be redirected to Get Your Refund. So I've included this information about free tax assistance, even though VITA sites aren't open right now, specifically because after GetCTC closes in November, if individuals want to claim the credit, they will have to go through the full tax filing process. And so it's important, I just want to share this information out, that you have that and have this to think about through the coming months. So at getyourrefund.org, you are able to identify local VITA sites for people that you're helping. Right now, many VITA sites are closed. There are limited capacities, especially when you get outside of larger city areas. So we encourage everyone calling before sending anyone to a VITA site to confirm that they are open, they can assist individuals. And also note that for married people, both partners must go. Through getyourrefund.org as well, individuals are at this point can access free do-it-yourself tax filing services. This also, there is free virtual tax filing assistance that includes the opportunity to discuss their situation with a tax specialist over the phone. But again, because we are outside of tax filing season, there's limited capacity for that, but it is available. If anyone, let's say, doesn't qualify for getctc.org, wants to claim the credits before next tax season and feels like doing it themselves, this is the path for them to use. And also, I wanted to include information on the AARP Foundation tax aid sites. Those are now currently closed. But again, we are encouraging people to continue doing this outreach, asking people in the coming months or next year through 2025 tax season if they claim this credit. So when tax season does roll around, this is another option for free tax filing assistance for individuals. They have more of a focus on individuals who are over 50 or have low to moderate income, but again, this is another option. And then we also have the low income taxpayer clinics. They can help individuals with low incomes who have tax disputes with the IRS. They are presently open right now. They might have some limited capacity as well, but this is where we've had a lot of questions around custody and who can claim. This is the first resource we would suggest referring people to. They can also help people amend their taxes if they didn't know to claim the credit and they did file their tax returns. And free tax filing when or free tax filing might not be available for everyone, right? And when tax season rolls back around, or even right now, we want to encourage people to help clients and community members find the highest quality free tax assistance. And so we have this guidance from the IRS. This is also going to be, this is included in our toolkit, which you'll get links for as well. And this offers some great questions that everyone can ask a tax preparer to make sure that they are getting their taxes prepared by somebody who is reputable and trustworthy and high quality. We also have this included in our toolkits as well. It's what individuals need to bring to a tax appointment. This can also be really helpful. We know that families are busy, and so we want to make sure they're as best prepared to show up to their appointments. So this is a great resource from our partners at CBPP. It's available in both English and Spanish to share with families so they know exactly what to bring. And now I just want to go over some common questions and concerns that come up around the CTC. So the first one being, does receiving the CTC impact other public benefits? The answer to this is no. getting this credit will not change any federally funded public benefits like Social Security, SNAP, child care subsidies, or WIC. Will receiving the CTC affect someone's immigration status or ability to get a green card? The answer to that is also no. So under the current law, receiving the child tax credit or other tax credits will not affect someone's immigration status, their ability to get a green card, or their future immigration plans. Use of tax credit is not considered in a public charge determination by USCIS. Will the IRS share someone's immigration status with other government agencies? The answer to this is also no. The IRS is forbidden to share an individual's tax information with other agencies. There's some limited exceptions to this that can be related to certain criminal investigations or to determine someone's tax liability. We have a link here for more information from the IRS website. We also state that if this does come up, our recommendation is to refer those individuals to an immigration attorney or legal aid for their specific cases. Can parents, caregivers claim the CTC using individual taxpayer identification numbers? So as I mentioned earlier, adults can have a Social Security number or an ITIN to claim the child for the CTC for children who have Social Security numbers. The biggest change that has happened in the post-tax season of this year is that if someone has a current ITIN, they can still file to claim the CTC and potentially other credits. Unfortunately, if they never had an ITIN and didn't apply for a tax filing extension by April 18th, they can no longer claim the 2021 CTC. They can still apply and get an ITIN and to file taxes and potentially claim credits in future years, but those individuals can no longer claim the 2021 CTC. If they had an expired ITIN and they didn't file their taxes for whatever reason, they can actually still claim the 2021 CTC by submitting a Form W-7 to renew their ITIN and then filing a tax return. So the biggest takeaway from this is anyone who would need an ITIN to file or claim taxes would have had to had that ITIN or filed for an extension by April 18th of 2022. If they didn't do that, the credit for 2021 is no longer available to them. And will an individual ever have to pay this money back? The CTC is not a loan. If someone receives payments for a child who is no longer their dependent, they may have to pay some of that money back. There are certain protections for those in situation like this. If their incomes are below $40,000 as a single person, $50,000 for heads of household, or $60,000 for married couples. And there are some more limited protections for those with higher incomes, $80,000 as a single person, $100,000 head of household, and $120,000 for couples filing jointly. And what if someone has not filed tax returns in recent years? Again, people with very low incomes, as we mentioned earlier, are generally not required to file. Even if they were required to file, there's not a penalty if the IRS owes someone a refund. So perhaps they didn't file, but if they had filed, they would have gotten something from like the EITC. There's generally not a penalty for an individual in that sort of situation. And as I mentioned earlier as well, taxpayers can file for the past 3 years to receive the refunds they are owed. So again, this 2021 CTC is on the table essentially through tax season 2025. And even if someone owes child support, for example, or taxes, and this is the main reason they don't want to try to claim the CTC, they can benefit from claiming the CTC because the credit will go towards paying off any outstanding child support or back taxes first, and they're going to receive the amount left over. If it all goes towards what's owed, it's going to reduce their debt and means that they will be able to get tax credits in future years. And I want to quickly mention as well, IRS Letter 6419. Families receive this who got the first half of the child tax credit. Individuals who do have to file a full return will need this letter. we've had some reports back. We had some reports back, especially during tax season, that people received a letter and they found or thought that the amount listed on the letter didn't match what they actually received. And this might have been because, for example, the IRS had an old address for somebody, and they sent a check there and the person moved and they never got the check. So in that case, we want to recommend that people use check their accounts on the IRS online account page for the most up-to-date amount, and use that when filing their tax returns. And as I mentioned, we have resource toolkits that are full of various information, all the links that are mentioned today. We have a partners toolkit. We have a toolkit that's specifically for families that gives all the different sort of resources families would need and forms, things like that. And we also launched our own website a couple months back, childtaxcreditoutreach.org, where you can find all our toolkits as well as future presentations that are open to the public and other past recordings. I will put all of that in the chat as well for you to have. And this is just a quick list of all the different things that are in our toolkits. Our toolkits are living, breathing documents. So you are going to find the most up-to-date information in there. We keep them up to date, and we've been updating as we move through the year in the post tax season era, and now as we move into the fall with GetSeetsa.org. So once you have the link to that, you'll always have the most up-to-date version of the resources. And if you're interested, you can sign up for our Listserv. This Listserv is specifically just for child tax credit purposes. So anytime we have updates, like for example, the I-10 news or anything around GetSeetsa, we share that information out through our Listserv. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up for that at that link. I'll put that as well in the chat. And this is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything coming up in the future. Something comes up. We always actually benefit a lot from questions coming in from organizations and the public, because it gives us info on what's going on the ground that we might not necessarily catch through all the other information that we're getting. So it is really helpful. So please feel free to reach out if anything comes up. And I will open it up for any questions right now. And while you're thinking of your questions, or if you have any, I'm going to put all the links that I mentioned in the chat for you right now.
Alini, this is John from Kansas Action for Children. There was a lot of websites that you referenced during the webinar today. It sounds to me like the childtaxcreditoutreach.org has resources for organizations who might be in a position to help individuals claim the credit. So if we're looking for posters and flyers or a customized URL to GetSeetsa.org, we can go there for the kind of organizational materials. But when we're talking about individual interactions with folks, we're pushing them to GetSeetsa.org to actually begin the process of claiming that. Correct?
Yes, correct.
And if anybody's in doubt of where to go, there's the GetYourRefund.org, which kind of funnels people to the right the right website, either the GetSeetsa or VitaHelp or filing online for a more comprehensive tax return.
Yes, and GetSeetsa will funnel you to get your refund if you end up on that page and somebody doesn't qualify. So
cool. Thank you.
And I just have a couple other links.
And Alini, I'm seeing in the Q&A the question of, can we get a copy of the slide presentations emailed to us? Is that possible? I know we were recording this also for future sharing too.
Yes, so I will be putting together a follow-up email, so you'll get the recording and all the other information we mentioned, as well as all the slides in that. So yes.
Thanks.
Okay, great. If there's no other questions, we will let you all return to your afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here. I hope that this information was helpful. And again, please reach out if you have any questions, and keep an eye out for our follow-up email with all the resources for you to have and to share.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.